Okay. We're good to go. So, hi everyone. Uh, do you guys hear me well? Actually, okay. Um, so first, um, let me just start with an update on what we've done lately. First of all, there's a new interface here. That was one of the more visible changes in the past couple of weeks. We've completely redesigned Meet as part of our integration in HipChat. So we hope that the new interface is significantly more streamlined and easier to use and agreeable to use. So there's that. There's a few more changes coming. One of the more notable changes is that we are switching to using the Atlassian UI kit, which is also open source Apache license. Um, and we've made a bunch of we've really rethought very hard the Meet design and um, basically have now reasons for the way most of the things are. That doesn't mean that they're not going to change, um, but at least we know why we made them the way we made them. That was Yana's update. She asked me to do it for her, although Damien and Histo and a bunch of other people also helped a lot and worked on this project. So let's now continue. George, I know you'd like to share something.
Yeah. So the past couple of weeks were supposed to be devoted to mm, probing for bandwidth so that we can um, ramp up the high quality simulcast layer. And not only that, uh, we do want to probe for bandwidth to do other fancy congestion control things. So the first week of the last couple, well, not the week before, but not last week, but the week before, um, we did read the webrtc.org code, and now we have a clean picture how they do probing, which is actually different from sending. Well, they do have some form of aggressive probing in the beginning of um, the call, so that uh, they can see what they can find out the available send bandwidth of the endpoint, and then when the bandwidth drops, they send padding packets to fill the send side bandwidth estimation in case they are not if they're not achieving the target bitrate for the video send stream. That was so, and then uh, last week I was supposed to continue on that, but working on the implementation, I decided to rewrite a few stuff, refactor a few stuff in the bridge. I introduced um, uh, two very simple abstractions that we were missing in libjitsi that allow for so in ORTC terms you have the media stream track, and RTP encoding. So a media stream track can have multiple RTP encodings, and the media stream can have multiple media streams. You build the media stream tracks. Yes, I'm sorry, and you build the media stream tracks and the RTP encodings from the signal sources and source groups. So that's how you with simulcast you have a bunch of sources and a simulcast group, SSRC group, and you represent that with a single media stream track with multiple RTP encodings. So we didn't have that in libjitsi, this simple thing. Now we do have, well, eventually we will have it today, and it allows for a centralized, it allows you to have a centralized place where you have all this information. So you don't have to move around SSRC groups and sources in all the transformers in the bridge. and have to replicate this information in every imaginable place, uh, which ends up being um, well, difficult to maintain and track where you have put this information. So now the media stream track has the media stream interface in the bridge has uh, a method, well, a bunch of new methods, but the most interesting ones are the get local track, which by SSRC. So you give an SSRC and you get a media stream track, a local media stream track, and a get remote track by SSRC, and you give it an SSRC and you get a media stream track that is built from signaling. This is signaling related information. We have kept all the functionality that was there before. This is purely signaling related changes. We group all the signaling for the remote sources and source groups in these two simple abstractions. And this led to a very big simplification of the rewriting engine. We went down from 1,500 lines of code to 600 lines of code, and we removed a lot of unnecessary concurrency code. Now it's single-threaded; it doesn't need any synchronization. Yeah, and yeah, the PR is there. It passes, and probably Damian. I will ask somebody, maybe Damian or Lubo, to merge it today.
Thank you very much, George. Any questions about George's?
Eventually we can move, now that we have this, we can move a lot of things down to libjitsi, like all the simulcast implementation, all the NAC termination stuff. We can move a lot of things down to libjitsi again. Because if you have all the encoding information in libjitsi, you don't need a lot of stuff in the video bridge. It can really become a thin layer on top of libjitsi.
Why
would we want to do that?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess that's a bigger discussion around the role of libjitsi. But if libjitsi is a generic media library and the video bridge is anything not specific to an SFU,
yes,
then all of these things should be pluggables from within the bridge.
We are not going to remove the entry points. But some things, if you have the information in libjitsi, why
wouldn't we make it available to Jitsi Video Bridge?
I'm sorry?
Why wouldn't we make it available to Jitsi Video Bridge with the same ease?
Well, it is anything that's available to libjitsi. But yeah, okay,
we can talk about that more. But I don't see that as an inherently good thing to just cram up libjitsi with absolutely every possible feature.
True. Okay, we don't have to do that. We don't have to, but that's not done anyway. But
Hey George, is this based on the newer Senside bandwidth estimation stuff in Chrome, or?
Well, we still don't have the implementation for the Senside. The Senside bandwidth estimation is based on Chrome ones, but what I described about the media stream tracks and the RTP encodings, this is based on ORTC stuff, not it's not related to Senside bandwidth estimation only.
Yeah. And no, we don't yet have the new fancy stuff in terms of bandwidth estimation.
We don't have
that is truly Senside. We don't have that yet. But one thing that I didn't mention is that you continue work on ramp up.
Yes.
And we're hoping that by next community call, we would have deployed a demo.
Yes.
Of a basic ramp up.
That's working.
In Jitsi. And obviously we've always kept our promises in terms of timing, so there's no reason it wouldn't happen. All right, thank you very much, George. Jitsi?
So I was helping with the UI redesign, as you said. Other than that, I think right now it should be merged. We implemented some checks in Jitsi about the media streams that should have issues with the camera and microphone. So that should be merged now. And Other than that, we had a very bad issue with the start muted feature. Like if you start muted, after that the mute and mute functionality is not working for the camera. That should be fixed now and what's the merged as well. And I think that's all.
Thank you. Sam, do you want to mention the moderators thing, or do you want me to go over it?
What was the moderators thing? Oh yeah, sure. Right, I did that. So I've been working on camera. I've been working on tweaking how the moderator role works in Meet as a deployable option. So instead of having a single moderator with a little star and us having to hit okay, everybody refresh because we weren't the first ones into the call every time. Optionally, you can have as a deployment option the ability to make everyone in a room a moderator. So for things for a public service makes a lot of sense, and anybody will be able to enable follow me or invite people or whatever actions moderators can take. So for a public service like Meet that Jitsi, where we don't know who's, where we have no concept of who needs to be a moderator, it's not a chat where we know this person is the the team lead or whatever, so they're the moderator. Anyway, it I think makes a little more sense, and that's will be just a deployment option.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think it's not at all only for public services, and I think other deployments might find it useful as well. Essentially, it comes down to everyone being able to mute everyone and everyone being able to kick everyone.
And credit where credit's due, that's just a simple little Prosty plugin that we took from OTalk or Talkie or whatever NGX service was.
That's true. Yes.
Licensed.
Thanks to NGX for that. So, thanks, Sam. So there is, you guys all know that we started this effort on reactifying Jitsi in order so that it would give us a mobile version for a low cost. This has progressed well to the point where we have a basic mobile client that is able to join multi-party conferences and receive and send audio and video. Now, the issue is that we get into this classical situation where eventually this new React architecture is supposed to take over everything and be the new way to write Meet. It's supposed to become the new Meet, except that we have this competition now about the old Meet getting new functionality and the rewrite tagging behind. So Lubo started an effort last week where that he's going to talk more about, that supposedly, not supposedly, that hopefully would help us get around that.
Yes. So the effort has been started. It's a relatively easy one. Because we have to merge two very different approaches. But, well, since we're on the path, we have hope. So the first step that we've taken is because of specifics to the module bundler of React Native, also known as packager. And we needed to webpack into Jitsi Meet in order to share a module bundler for React Native and React. So that's currently in PRs for Jitsi Meet and Jitsi Meet. And working on to, for example, introduce React at the top level, at the app level, and then gradually rewrite the components below it. We'll see how that will go. The thing is that with the Jitsi Meet React project, which is the rectification of GTV, or at least its beginning. We set other goals as well, like having JavaScript docs everywhere, enforcing that for rules, some consistency of style, of coding style and stuff. So transferring those is kind of an easy task with existing code, but we'll tackle it with time.
Okay, thank you. I personally consider this a super important initiative because I was afraid that we would be dragging meat for way longer than we hoped for. So this initiative is giving me a lot of hope that we'd be able to switch in a much more reasonable way. Pavel has been working also in the past couple of weeks on he's been continuing the work on connection disruption. Nearly done.
So I finished the PR on Friday, but it's published it, so still waiting for another one to be managed. Should publish it.
Yep, so in a few hours we should have, again, just as a reminder, this is functionality where the bridge is telling people, well, actually, it's a combination of the bridge and libjitsi-meet, but it ends up in events going out of libjitsi-meet and telling the using application that the connection isn't going that well, and for some person. Again, this is different from the local connection where we already have events. This is for other people that we're not directly connected to. So we hope that this would contribute a lot to the user experience, and because it would give transparency about what's going wrong in the code. One thing that Damien is sort of starting work on as well, I'm just thinking about that, is we also want to redesign the way we do GSM bars right now. We're going to give it a try in the next couple of weeks and talk more about it. But right now, it feels like they're not always very representative of the way a user perceives a connection. And specifically, the most obvious way they fail is that a lot of times there would be noticeable issues, and the GSM bars would be at 5. And this is mostly due to the fact that we simply only use packet loss for the GSM bars, incoming and outgoing. So we're going to, and if you just don't have enough bandwidth, or your encoder has problems, none of these are going to be picked up. So we think we have a good way of trying it out, and I'd rather talk more about it once we've tried it out, actually. So we'll do that in a couple of weeks after we've experimented a little bit. So I think this concludes our side of the meeting, and we're now moving to open mic. Are there any questions from the floor? I don't know what I mean by the floor. Are there any questions from the thumbnails?
From the ether.
From the ether, yes.
Question. I'm Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
So we're looking at the screen sharing from we're using the iframe kind of API to do our video. And the screen sharing, or just trying to track down like what's going on. Like it from our talks in an email, it looked like it's probably some kind of API limit or iframe limitation. Just kind of wondering like how you guys see getting around that, or if you have got around that, or.
Yeah, so actually, this should now be solved in the latest Meet release. This should now be solved in this version in Meet Jitsi. It has been solved in the code for a few weeks. Okay. Basically, the limitation is that iframes are not allowed to do inline installs for extensions.
Right.
And that was the only install that we were attempting. So if you were using Meet in an iframe, it would fail that way. And the same goes for pop-ups.
Okay.
What we did is, if this fails, now we simply direct the user to the Chrome Web Store, and we get them to install the extension from there. And once they do that, we continue to detect the presence of the extension. So we still detect it, and we still start it. So the only difference is that instead of just seeing a single dialog, you actually see a pop-up that shows you the Chrome Store and all that. It's slightly less streamlined than it is when you just use it directly from outside of an iframe.
Right.
But it's still okay. It still ends up working in a good way. So I suggest, Aaron, you give it a try with the. We deployed the new version of Meet Jitsi last Friday.
Right. Yeah.
Friday night. You haven't tried it since then, have you?
I have not, but I think. So did you guys solve like the actual? Because we would get the extension and we'd install it, and it would detect it. It would actually pop up and give like a screen selection dialog, and then so it get that far. So it obviously was communicating with the extension. It's just whenever it went to actually, I guess, once you selected an input, then it would just like error out and it spit out some stuff in the console. So it seemed like it could communicate with the extension. It's just we couldn't really figure out what was causing it to just like spit up. Like it wouldn't go any further than that.
Well, I think that we've actually seen the same thing, but was it the same issue? So the reason.
Didn't know if that had been fixed or.
So if that happened, then you must have had the extension from just using Meet Jitsi directly, I guess.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this.
Maybe there is some JavaScript there or something. But yeah, I remember that we fixed some problems, but I'm not sure if it's the same. Like you have to see the error or something.
Aaron, we're not sure if this isn't directly related to the latest fix. It could be, but it could also be something we broke in a different way.
Okay.
Could you please just check your JavaScript console and make sure and check out what's happening and just send us if you see any errors there.
It may not be happening anymore, but I'll definitely give it a shot and shoot it you guys' way if it still is. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We're definitely going to have a look at it. Anyone else?
I guess maybe I just say no questions or anything. We started doing some load tests just to verify some stuff, and we're running slightly different scenarios, obviously, because we're doing mixing. And now we actually we're not using the FMJ mixer. We're using the mixer we've gotten from Dolby, from the Dolby integration. And obviously we've got some changes. We're a bit old on Jitsi and the bridge right now. We've got some of our stuff on top. One thing we did see is we were seeing, once we got up to say, I think it was maybe 18 to 20 callers, and this is with simulcast top layer at like 720. We started seeing these periodic freezes. And it looks like I just saw one of the guys this morning, they tried increasing the heap a bit and changing the garbage collection up a little. And so far that's looked good, but I don't have anything more solid than that. So I'll keep you guys posted, but just an update on some stuff we saw.
So simulcast is H264 and the freezes on the video? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not a lot of in-depth results yet. We've just been kind of poking around, and he just tried this, I think, last night and did a call with 20 and then wasn't seeing any delay. So we want to verify that. And it's not quite apples to apples because, we're a little behind and we've got some stuff on top. I was worried that some of the stat pushing and log pushing that we've added for our own stuff might have been a problem, but we disabled that and we're still seeing that issue. So scattered data points at this point. I don't think that really any strong conclusions yet, but I'll keep saying from that.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And specific, if increasing the heap and garbage collection seems to have helped, that's obviously a good indication that there might be some object leakage going on or something like that. But it is also definitely, it's also very likely not to be a solution, right? Because we might have just pushed the limits a little bit farther, but not solved it. So yeah, it would be good to get at the bottom of it and know what's going on. Hopefully, it's just a bug in Dolby's mixer.
I mean, I think what we saw, if I'm remembering right too, like it didn't look like, and this was some tests I done a while back, it didn't look like CPU was necessarily the problem. The Dolby mixer, we do know it does, their codec is super optimal for mixing. They have a thing where it's like you don't need to fully decode it to mix, but we're doing a lot of Opus mixing alongside it, and their code there is fairly new, and that's obviously somewhat costly. But I don't think it was looking like CPU problem. But we have also been hitting some thread leak issues that I'm thinking is probably caused by a bug we have in our stuff somewhere. So we haven't tracked that down yet and figured out how big of a role that's playing.
Okay.
So that's another thing we got to look into.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for letting us know, and looking forward to know more when you guys do.
And the other thing I'll say is, because I think we were talking with George a little bit about this, about the audio RTCP, especially in mixing. I really wanted us to kind of dig deeper and be able to figure out what was going on with FMJ there and get that working that way. But because of the way we integrated the Dolby mixer, we don't even do like an RTP manager or anything. So we kind of sidestepped that entire FMJ piece. And the Dolby mixer is capable of doing RTCP. So we're relying on that for now. I'm not really crazy about that as a setup, but that's where we ended up. So that's something that's, I think, still an issue, getting RTCP, no RTCP for audio when you're doing mixed, but I don't know how much we'll end up looking into that, at least for now, because we've kind of sidestepped it. So a heads up, because we were talking with George on that, and I know he was thinking that we were probably going to get to the bottom of it, but I don't know when that's going to.
Can you remind a little bit the scenario? Who is not generating? FMJ is not generating RTCP for like
tuners.
You would expect in SRs or RRs from FMJ.
We just weren't getting anything. So if you had mixing enabled, there basically would be zero audio RTCP.
But FMJ is not mixing the stream, right? You have this Dolby mixer, right? Or
no, when they're using the mixer from FMJ, they're not getting any RTCP.
Yeah, that was true even before.
That should not happen. Normally FMJ.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and we didn't get to test your even initial theory, which is that maybe the basic RTCP termination strategy for video is somehow overriding the FMJ stuff for audio too, and maybe that's preventing it. So we were going to try disabling that and see, but we didn't get around to that. We're in our kind of crazy crunch thing to try and get this thing going, but I just want a heads up because I think we'd left it as an action item to look it through some of those things, and now I don't know when that's going to happen. So,
all right,
yeah,
okay.
Because it sounds like from what we talked about, it would actually have been handy to get. Well, I guess that would be slightly different. Even in the non-mixed case, right? We talked about that technically there's no aggregation going on from the downstream stuff, which is maybe making things a little wonkier than it needs to be, but not as bad as no RTCP at all, presumably.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there are some. If you have the time, well, you don't have the time, but where you would like to put some additional logging is inside the RTCP transmitter and RTCP reporter in FMJ, and see if it does anything. And if it generates RTCP reports, then something on the bridge, presumably RTCP termination, is eating that up.
Yeah.
But I don't it's very weird. RTCP termination should not touch anything from audio. So I really don't have a very good explanation on that.
Yeah, the one thing that we had done before we did the Dolby mixer piece was we had basically just kind of hacked together a simple, like, basic RTCP termination strategy for audio and had it build some report blocks. That was something Miriam had kind of thrown together real quick, which had the basics, but we ended up doing the Dolby thing. So,
Okay.
and I think that's not the final. That's not the way that it should be done in the bridge, anyways, right? So, I don't think there's anything worth like contributing or anything there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just a heads up because I know we talked about that.
Thanks, Brian. So, well, I guess we'll cut it here. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you again in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's interesting.